Good evening, viewers, and welcome to tonight's edition of Frankly Speaking. Our continuing series of Frankly Speaking have seen a large number of people come to our studios as a result of the challenges we have thrown out at you at home. This evening, we are very privileged in having two young men who have accepted the challenge of coming to our studios and talking to us as frankly as you will discover in the course of the evening. Allow me first of all to introduce a young man, Albert Josiah. How are you, Albert?
I'm fine.
All right, you're well?
Yeah, I'm well.
Good man. And allow me to also introduce another young man called Nicholas Whiteman. Is that the correct pronunciation of your name?
Go ahead.
What is the exact pronunciation of your name?
Whiteman.
Whiteman.
Yeah.
Whiteman. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Nicholas.
Right now, I'm a visiting student from America, from university out there. I'm attending a college called Lewis and Clark College in Oregon, a state near California. And we're in Kenya and Tanzania for about 4 months doing cultural studies and biology and studying Islam, things like this, and are now in Nairobi. And I'm doing an independent study project now on mental health in Kenya.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what does cultural studies mean?
Cultural studies. Studies of regional peoples. For instance, we studied the Maasai. We had homestays where we stayed in their bomas, which was very interesting.
You'll be telling us a little bit more about
yeah.
that. All right. Albert, tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm a second-year medical student at the University of Nairobi, hopefully to be a third year soon, hopefully. There's nothing much really to say about me. I'm just a regular Joe trying to get somewhere in life.
Okay. Right. The two of you have just met.
Yeah.
It might be useful, actually, if you asked Nicholas one or two things about get to know one another on camera.
Oh, yeah, basically. Do you have brothers and sisters? Because I have a whole clan.
Hey, yeah, I do. I have one brother, an older brother who is in the sciences as well. He studies chemistry. He is working for a pharmaceutical company in America. So he's 3 years older than me. We got along pretty well growing up. Not too bad.
You're lucky.
How about yourself?
My brother's what? He's 10 years older than me.
Oh.
And then I have two sisters between that. My oldest brother is a music producer.
Yeah.
My next sister is a computer engineer. The sister after that is an architectural engineer. Then there's me, and then there's little Angela, who's the darling of the family, and the spoiltest brat I ever met. We have a big family. We get along pretty well, but my two sisters are in the States.
Oh.
And
Which is where you come from.
Yes.
All right.
States.
And my brother's in Tanzania.
Mm.
So that just leaves me, my parents, and my little sister.
Let's see. For you to take care of, huh?
Oh,
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm trying to be good with kids. I want to do pediatrics. So
Oh, good practice.
What do you do, Nicholas?
What do I do?
Yeah.
I would say I'm simply a student right now in
Yeah.
life. Yeah. I study art as my emphasis, studio art, painting and drawing, but also biology and psychology.
That sounds like a bit of a contradiction.
Yes, doesn't it?
I mean, how do you put in art and biology at the same time?
Well, I figure I get both sides of my brain working at the same time. It's a good balance, you know. Too much studying, I'm sure you can...
No, I can relate.
Relate. So much studying in books, you need an outlet, you know, you need self-expression, which is what art and music bring to me. So.
I don't find that at all unusual. I really
Explain
don't
what
find
you
that.
mean.
Because I study medicine, yes.
Yeah.
But I also, I like to write. I've written a number of plays.
You've written plays.
I've written plays.
A medical student.
Yes, I've written
I
plays.
thought the standard medical student was a standard, boring person who only read anatomy and physiology.
No, that's actually not true, because a lot of my friends, we meet every Wednesday we dance salsa. A lot of us are pretty accomplished salsa dancers.
What is salsa?
Salsa, South American Latino dance. Magnificent stuff with a live band. Next Wednesday, man.
Yeah, all right.
Okay.
So,
All right. If you
So
say
we
so.
do a lot of things.
Yeah.
We do.
So you go medical school, do all these things, anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, and so on, And you also have time to write plays.
Well, it's not that you have time, but you have the feeling. Sometimes it's easier, you know, because when you sit there, the body is art. We're all a bit of art. And if anything, if you learn anything from medical school, that's the one thing that you learn, that we're perfectly proportioned out. Our arms are the same length, feet the same length.
Symmetry.
So why not just go to the art? Why bother going to medicine?
Because I think we all have two sides. We all have two sides. And my greater calling would be medicine. That's what I think my life is about.
What do you have to say to that? I mean, you all...
I agree. I think that we do have two sides. It can be looked at that way. Someone once said to me, the body is the unconscious mind. And I didn't know what that meant at first, but it made sense to me later, you know. We have so much emphasis on our conscious minds, what we do during the day, what our focus is on, but so much is unexpressed, you know. And for me, I feel that art gives me the opportunity to express that side of myself, you know. So I can study biology textbooks and chemistry, but I need more than that to feel, you know.
So
complete.
really, I mean, Nicholas, you could have gone to medical school and studied medicine.
Yeah, that was my original plan.
Okay.
My first year in university, I thought I was going to be a doctor, and life changes have brought me to art.
So what do we have? How old are you?
I'm 22.
And how old are you?
I'm 21.
Okay. So we have 22, 21, both of you at university.
Yeah.
Both of you artistic in every sense of the word.
Yeah.
And at the same time, scientists, in the sense that you're reading, what's your main at university?
I'm sorry?
What is your main major?
Oh, yeah, art, studio art.
Studio art, but
Yeah.
you're also doing psychology things.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Now, you are from America.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit more about life for a young student in America.
For a young student.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you about my life.
All right,
growing
tell us
up.
about your life.
Yeah.
Yes, go on.
I had primary and secondary school in public school, which, you know, in America, there's private, which you pay money to go to, in public school, which is government funded, and I was in public school. And so I was always exposed to a lot of ethnic diversity growing up. A lot of people look down on public education and say it's not as good, but in my experience, that's not the case. I feel very well.
What state was it you grew up in?
The state of Colorado.
Colorado.
It's in the middle of the
That's
country.
just in the middle of it. It's very hot
Country.
sometimes and very
Yeah,
cold sometimes.
exactly. Right now it's snowing.
All right.
You might not know what snow is,
All right.
but you've been to London, I'm sure. It's
yeah.
cold, man.
All right, go on, we're listening.
Yeah, so, you know, in secondary school, I actually attended a school in a neighborhood that was sort of an impoverished area. And a lot of schools in America they call magnet schools, where they bring groups of people from other parts of the city in so they can integrate groups of students. And so I was surrounded by just all kinds of different people in my childhood growing up and in school. And when it came time to decide university, I wanted to get out of Colorado. I wanted to go somewhere different. So I went to Oregon, which is on the West Coast.
Okay. In other words, everything about you growing up, going to school, and up to getting to university was just regular stuff.
Regular.
Completely.
Yep.
Nothing made you stand out. Nobody would have picked you out of a crowd.
No.
Just an ordinary youngster.
Yep.
Tell us about yourself, Albert.
Oh.
About school and growing up.
I went to primary school in two different schools. I started out in Starahe for about 4 years. Then I transferred to Consolata, spent the remaining 4 years, Standard 8. Then I went to first form in Strathmore, spent another 4 years there, and then spent 1.5 years doing my A-levels at Brookhouse. That's basically it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Again, in your case, just a regular, normal, standard, almost boring life.
But not really, because I was always getting in trouble.
Really? Tell us about that.
Well, I've always been the kind of person to want to do things my way. From third form, clean through most of fourth form, I hadn't cut my hair for about 1.5 years.
What?
So I had this, this wig thing.
Yeah.
It was a great big hair, dude, and they didn't take very kindly to that. And I used to braid it sometimes. I played rugby.
What, you'd braid your hair?
Yeah.
Like a girl?
Yeah.
Tell us about your braids.
Braids. Well, I really had wanted dreadlocks in high school,
Okay.
but they were not going to have that. They were not going to have that. So I just used to braid it because I knew I could undo it on Monday when I was going to school, and sort of like pat my hair down, and nobody would notice. It got me in a bit of trouble eventually because at some point I got tired of combing it, so I just let it be. They made me cut it eventually. But I played rugby in third form. I played rugby in fourth form. I played basically every major high school rugby competition that was. I was captain of the second team in third form. I was a permanent fixture in fourth form.
All right.
I basically had fun.
Okay, you had fun. But I want to come back to the top. Tell us a little more about your dreadlocks.
Oh, my dreadlocks. I actually eventually got a chance
Yeah.
this year to grow my dreadlocks. Because
Tell us about that.
well, my dreadlocks for me were an expression of who I thought I was, who I still think I am. An openness to looking different and being different. It's just, most people just think it's just a hairstyle, but for me it was more of a, I knew each and every one of my dreadlocks.
Tell us about your dreadlocks.
They were about, that long? Not that long. I'd had them for about 8-9 months. I had to go to the salon every, I guess, month to have them, tightened and neatened and stuff, and shampooed and make sure they were clean. And they were a part of me, a very special
You're
part of me.
telling us earlier on that you knew each and every...
Each and every one of them.
Explain what you mean by that.
Oh, I knew this is a fat one and this is a thin one. I knew my dreadlocks as in, because they were on my head and I twist them all the time. So I knew what each and every one of them felt like. And I could literally locate on my head, this one is double-headed and this is a single-stranded one and this is a really skinny one. I knew all my dreadlocks.
So why have you cut them?
Because I didn't conform to society's idea of what a doctor should look like.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Look at you.
Look at me what?
I mean, we don't look alike.
Okay, a bit. You're taller than I am.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
We just, I didn't conform to that idea with the dreadlocks, and I wear earrings in both my ears, and they look at me and they think, no, that's not what a doctor
Not a
looks like."
doctor.
No.
Not a doctor.
They used to tell me, if you want to do that, you go study BA.
Nicholas, you studying a BA.
Yeah.
To what extent can you relate to what?
I think that the need to feel unique and to differentiate oneself from, other people in your age set, or whatever you want to say it, is unique to the culture. I mean, did you wear uniforms in
Yeah,
secondary school?
I wore uniforms for 12 years of my life.
Yeah.
I wore 3 different sets of uniforms.
Oh. Because in my public school, we didn't have uniforms, but in America, I saw in private schools, they'd wear uniforms, and there was this need when you look like everybody else, the need to differentiate yourself, by tons of earrings or different hair, just a way to be different because, people want to know that they're unique and, there's something
You've got
original.
an earring, you've got a beard. What's that about?
Hey, I don't know. The beard is from safari,
Yeah?
in the
Okay.
bush.
And
Yeah,
your earring?
Tanzania.
And your earring?
My earring, that's why I got it. I was in, what do we call, 7th grade, so I was about 13 years old, maybe. And that's exactly why I got it, to be different,
To be different.
To be different.
Okay, we'll come back to you. Viewers, we're talking to 2 young men, aged 22 and 21. One born and brought up here in the city of Nairobi.
That's
The other born and brought up in the United States of America. Both of them at university, both of them experiencing different aspects of their lives. When we come back, we will be seeing in what ways they have similar experiences and in what ways they have experienced life differently up to this point. We'll be back with you in a moment.
"24 hours a day, 7 days a week, Family Media brings these age-old truths from the Bible into the comforts of your home. Partner with us today and help us spread the same to someone else. Call us today on 712-223 or log on to www.familykenya.com today for details.
Welcome back, viewers, to tonight's edition of Frankly Speaking, where we are talking to two young men, Nicholas Whiteman and Albert Josiah. Welcome back, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Is that appropriate, gentlemen?
Gentlemen?
I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Sounds
Gentlemen,
good to you.
boys, whatever.
all right, boys, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things, just talking to the two of you earlier,
Yeah.
was the fact that you are approaching medical discipline from different angles. But even as we talk about that, I think we'd stumbled onto the fact that you have had to use medical services.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, that's a long story. I'll
All right,
start at
we're
the
here,
beginning.
we're listening.
I suffered from depression to a small degree in my teenage years, from the beginning of secondary school. And
How old would you have been?
I was about 13, 14. And when I entered university, it was the same story, but 2 years ago there was a dramatic event where, I don't know what happened. I just got anxiety attacks, and my depression became extremely dramatic, and I stopped being able to function in school. I experienced withdrawal from society, from my friends. It was a very difficult time. And it got so bad for me that I had to take a semester off. I had to leave school. And that was really difficult to accept, because I wanted to go for 4 years straight, no time off, and get, my degree. But this experience led me somewhere else.
Nicholas, you're telling us that at the age of 13 or 14 you
Yes.
suffer depression.
Yes.
What does a 13 or 14-year-old feel like when they're depressed? Take us back to when you're 13 or 14.
I imagine a lot of people, a lot of kids that age feel confused about life. It's a time, especially, I don't know, in Kenya, but in America, you're trying to figure out who you are, and you're transitioning from early childhood into being an adult, and it's a very hard time. For me, the depression was just feeling like I didn't fit in, like I didn't belong. So I felt isolated and misunderstood, most importantly.
Albert,
Yeah.
what do you have to say?
I say that we were like two peas in the same pod.
Yeah.
Explain what you mean by that. Two
Because
peas
I
in one pod.
went through the same thing.
Exactly the same.
Exactly the same
Explain,
thing.
explain that in your own words.
I just got into first form in Strathmore. When I was in Standard 8, that was the one thing I wanted more than anything else, because I've always felt that I was the kind of guy who really didn't fit in much, So I thought that this would be finally a place where I'd be with people who are like me, where I'd fit in, where I'd be accepted for whoever I was, as strange as I was. But when I got there, I suddenly discovered it was even worse. Everybody had something that I felt I didn't have. And as time passed, I withdrew. And it would be something that came more or less every year. At some point, I literally knew, oh, here it comes again. And I'd have a point for about a month or two where I'd be struggling. I used to call them the monsters under my bed. And I would struggle with feelings of, I don't fit in, I'm not good enough, I'm not bright enough, I'm not big enough, I'm not fast enough, I'm not strong enough. I'm not, because I was on the rugby team, I was, struggling to compete with all these people for acceptance, And the more you try to fit in, the less people want to accept you.
Why do you say Yeah, why?
It's true. I mean, fitting in, I think these issues are something that everybody faces, but it differs to a degree between people. Everyone has insecurities, how do you fit in with your workmates or your schoolmates? I relate to it so much. That's why I say,
That's why you say it.
Yeah.
What are some of the memories you have about the way people treated you at 15, 16?
I saw it as, the way people treated me, I saw as a result of what I projected onto my environment, because I, feeling isolated and withdrawn, I was sort of just always inside of myself, and so people would be less, they didn't want to talk to me as much. I was less approachable. And it's easy to look back and see now that that's why, I understand. Because I think a lot of times when you're depressed or anxious, you create an air about yourself that keeps people at a distance, for sure.
I think there are two ways that it expresses itself, to tell you the honest truth. Because from my experience, what I would do is to, like he says, to create an air around yourself so that people can't harm you, they can't hurt you. You have this special place inside you where, I'm me. But mine was the opposite. I was very boisterous, very aggressive. So if you're going to step up in my space, I'm going to step right back and be in your face and tell you what.
That sounds a bit of a contradiction, in the sense that you're saying that on the one hand you were depressed and unhappy and lacking in self-confidence, and on the other hand you were boisterous.
You cover it up.
Explain that.
You cover it up. You stand up and because you're scared inside, you don't ever want to show that. Because you're hurting inside, you want to look like you can never be hurt. You stand up and say, what? What? Please, I don't care what you think. And you push people away because you're expecting to push you.
So you're saying, I don't care what you think.
Yeah. You push them away.
But in absolute reality, you care everything. Sorry, you're nodding.
Oh, yeah. I think we're two opposite ends of the same spectrum. It's an insecurity that you have. You don't feel complete with yourself. Something's wrong with me, you say. And so both of these examples are defense mechanisms, If you're so boisterous and in people's faces, then it keeps them at a distance. If you're so withdrawn that people don't come to you, you keep them at a distance. So effectively, you're protecting a part of you that you don't want anyone to see, because you're worried if they get on the inside, they're going to see what's wrong.
And what's wrong with people seeing what's on the inside?
It makes you vulnerable.
Yeah.
Oh, explain that.
It makes you vulnerable.
And kid, stop saying yeah. This is a difficult conversation to carry out. All right, I'll keep trying. What do you mean?
When people know that you're sensitive, it's easy to be taken for granted. It's easy for, when you're in high school, you're with a whole gang of insecure chaps. Everybody is looking to put everybody else down to make themselves feel better.
Dim your light so that yours can be brighter.
So, you don't want to let them know where your soft spot is, because trust me, they're going to push that button every single time. You want to show them that I'm not as tough as you, I'm tougher. So if you push my button, I'll smash yours.
So really what you're saying is that some boys who got in trouble in school today, for example, or last week, or whatever it was, would have found themselves in trouble because of insecurity that sometimes would be grounded on experiences of depression. That's what you're telling me.
Absolutely.
I agree. I think so, yeah.
Do you remember any time in your school career as an adolescent, 15, 16, either of you, getting in trouble as you tried to protect yourselves from this insecurity?
Oh, yeah.
You go first.
You see, the thing is, where I went to high school, we had a code of silence.
Code of silence.
A code of silence. You will never, ever, ever rat on someone else. You never tell. If they did something, you say, I don't know. You could have been there standing watching. I know nothing.
I know nothing.
Never there.
I know nothing.
So, every time something happened, I was always the prime culprit. Because I was this guy who was always so, So generally, if anything went wrong, it's just, and I wouldn't talk, even if it was even if I didn't do it.
Yeah.
I said, I don't know. Did you do it? No. Who did it? I don't know. And that really didn't make me a very popular person, because they're always thinking he did it, but we can't prove it. Because my next line would be, if you think I did it, prove it.
Right. Now, is there anything else you remember about being depressed and being an adolescent that you'd like to share with us?
I think there are a lot of people, it's just the degree that varies. But then, like I said, when you're in high school, you're with a gang of insecure chaps who are all trying to get at each other because they don't know where they fit in. And everybody is trying to be the best athlete, the best at something, because you feel that if you're not, you're losing. They're better than you and you're not good enough. The thing is the degree. I'd say that the more talented you are, the harder it becomes.
Oh, that again is another contradiction. How can it be the more talented you are, the more difficult it is? It's ridiculous.
It seems strange.
Yeah.
In all honesty, it seems strange. But when you have, I tell you, depressed people, it is not that you don't have what you want. It honestly isn't. When I look at my high school life, what is there that I didn't have? My parents were fine. Life at home was brilliant. I was, as far as rugby was concerned, I was doing really well. My schoolwork was doing fine. I was a budding writer. I wrote a lot. I was acclaimed. I graduated from Strathmore, Director of the Year. Graduated from Brookhouse, Director and Playwright of the Year. Everything was working for me. I can play a saxophone. I was talented. I had it.
You still are?
Yeah, I guess.
What do you make of that? I mean, what Albert is telling us is what? What is he telling us?
I think that perhaps sometimes depression is not based on your environment. I mean, it can be, but sometimes, you're depressed and you don't know why. You can have everything, just the same way that a corporate manager can have everything, business, money, cars, but, why are you still not happy? I had a similar experience. In high school I played soccer, I played the trumpet, the guitar, and was very involved in art. And, I had a lot of friends, and looking back on it now, it's like there was no reason. There was no reason to be depressed. It just was. And, I couldn't explain it then, and I can't say it's that much more clear to me now.
Gentlemen.
Yes.
This is very interesting because you're telling us a number of things. One, you're telling us that both of you are at university currently.
Yeah.
The two of you are young men who have enjoyed a reasonably ordinary life, who have been outstanding in many different ways, in art and in science, and that really it seems like there is absolutely no reason why the two of you have suffered from depression. And you're telling us even more, you're saying that there are many people out there who suffer from depression for reasons that are not obvious to the world. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll try and invite you back here so that we can together explore a little bit more your particular situations. Viewers, sadly we have come to the end of another edition of Frankly Speaking. I do not believe we have exhausted tonight's topic, and therefore we'll ask the two young men to come back and, if they will, discuss with us further their experiences with depression. Thank you and very good night. Some time back, we had the privilege of interviewing two young men who told us a number of things about themselves, and at that time we felt that we had not exhausted the subject that was under discussion. For those of you who remember, we had Nicholas and Alex, both of them students, one in the United States, the other at the University of Nairobi, one 22 years old rather, and the other 21 years old. Both have suffered difficulties at school on account of depression, and they promised they would come back to us to tell us a little bit more about each of their episode of depression. Gentlemen, I did call you gentlemen the last time.
Yes,
Yeah,
you
but
did.
last time
Welcome.
you called me Albert, this time you called me Alex.
Alex. All right, Albert. All right, time is going
Who's
on.
the crazy one here?
All
Come
right,
on, Frank.
absolutely. Right, Nicholas.
Yes.
Let's come to your episode and contact with depression.
Yes.
We understood from the last time that throughout high school, you had difficulties with, in a sense, an identity.
Yes.
It's almost a crisis of identity of who you are and what you're doing.
Sure.
Tell us a little, if you will, about your first major contact with depression and anxiety.
Yeah.
When did that happen?
That happened my second year of university. And before then, the depression had been sort of, cyclical. It would come and go, and, I'd have months of no problems. And second year of university, it felt heavier.
How old would you have been?
I was 19, about to turn 20 years old.
All right.
I noticed a bit more stress from my classes, like trouble sleeping. It started slowly. It kind of mounted, and the moment I knew something was wrong was one night I was in the library writing a paper on the computer, and it was like my mind just froze, like I couldn't think clearly. It was almost like there was something in my brain that was keeping it from working right, and I didn't know what was wrong, I thought I had some medical condition, or, something was going on that was beyond my control. And from that point, it was all downhill. I had about 2 weeks that I didn't sleep at all, insomnia, and then that anxiety was kind of followed by a depression that was the lowest I've ever experienced in my life, which is when I returned home from university and was living with my parents, and really, I can say just lost hope in life. There was nothing I was looking forward to. I felt just despair, nothing to be excited about. Didn't feel like I was worth anything myself. It was a very low point, and it hit bottom, and one day I thought it can only go up from here because this is it. How much worse?
What does it feel like? I mean, you're an artist and you're good with words.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about how a 19-year-old feels when they're in the depth of a depression. Yes.
Yes.
Be generous with words.
Yeah, sure. It feels suffocating, I felt like I was drowning in it because